Josh Green here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Nisse Sauerland here in Brighton. First time speaking to you this year. Nisse, nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you, mate. Nice to see you. Always nice to be in Brighton. Lovely day for it. And yeah, looking forward to a great show.
Yeah, great show, as you say. That main event with Harlem Eubank and Tyrone McKenna. A real crossroads fight for Harlem Eubank. If he gets the win, there's some huge opportunities and windows for the rest of the year.
Yeah, look, I feel like this is the right step up for Harlem and the right time in his career. I'd like for it to have happened maybe a bit earlier, but we are where we're at, and big fight against McKenna. Don't get me wrong, he's a dangerous guy. I'd almost call it a 50-50 fight. Harlem's got to be on his A game, but at the same time, you've got to beat these guys to get to the top, and there's some big names out there for him, and that's what we're going to gun for. But we've got to get the job done on Friday night.
I think undoubtedly the names on the record, the names they've been in against, probably goes the way of Tyrone McKenna. He's had the experience and he's been up there on the big stage. What gives you the confidence that Harlem's going to come through this challenge on Friday night?
I just think you saw the weigh-in and how fired up he is. I haven't seen Harlem like that, I don't think, ever. And it's nice to see that side to him. I think he's been itching to get out there and fight someone and do a step up from where we left off in Brighton last year, which was Timo Schwarzkopf. Obviously, there was quite a big delay to his career, and that's always unfortunate. But we're back on the right road again, and this is a big step up for him, and looking forward to it.
You mentioned the delays last year, and I spoke to him a bit about that frustration yesterday. What is the plan going forward with Harlem in 2025? What do you want this year to look like for him?
Activity, but also not being the B side, being the A side, or at least the equal side, where you're not walking to the rhythm of someone else. That's the thing in boxing. It's power play. And I believe if he wins this, he's earned his 50% of any of the big names out there.
Some superb talents on the undercard. Dan Toward, who looked like he was struggling with the weight a little bit. Can you give me any insight on that? Or
no, I believe the fight was made at 156. That's what I believe it was made at. I have to check with my matchmaker, but it was 2 pounds up on the normal weight, which is quite standard in boxing. But yeah, Dan Toward, for me, if he doesn't become a world champion, then I'm going to retire. No, maybe not, but I don't truly believe in him. Same with a lot of the guys on the card. It's phenomenal talents coming through, and sometimes people look at the Channel 5 shows and they have to understand that there's some really good boxing and really good talent on there now. We've been building up for the last few years, and this is my favourite fight night of the year so far.
We saw a huge fight night sort of come to its head last week with the press conference up in Manchester and then down in London in Eubank Jr and Conor Benn. It's caused an awful lot of controversy, the egg slap as it's sort of been branded. What did you make of that?
It's quite funny. It was a good one. Listen, I think he's got Junior's got a lot. He's a good talker. I think that the egg slap is a bit of show. I don't think Conor saw it like that. So as a neutral on that fight, if I was looking at it, I would see it as quite entertaining. But at the same time, I'm not. Yeah, I'm on the fence on that fight.
You were obviously once the promoter with Eubank Jr. If you were in his corner, if you were the promoter during that press conference, how would you have sort of viewed that egg slap? Would you have looked on it favourably, or?
Yeah. Listen, he's his own man, isn't he? I'm not. As long as it wasn't me going, go on, put an egg in your pocket and slap it on his head. I may come up with an idea like that, so you never know. But at the same time, it was, Junior's his own man, and I would have supported him. I would have laughed about it. You know, obviously, I don't think it's as bad as a slap, right? It's an egg, and I think he's got a lot of anger about whatever happened. You know, so I think that's, you know.
Ben Shalom's adamant that he had no idea about it. Do you believe that, or do you think he must have had a whiff of that?
No comment.
Fair enough. Moving on to some news from yesterday, Turki Alalshikh partnering with Dana White, sort of confirmation of the new boxing league that we've heard whispers about for the past weeks and months. It's a huge shift in the sport, continuing the shift we've seen from the last 2 years or so. What do you make of that, and how do you think it's going to affect boxing?
Normally I would say, look, listen, there's no shift because, you know, everyone makes announcements and this and that, and, you know, put your money where your mouth is. But one thing's for certain, you know, they've got money, and Dana's a great leader of UFC. You know, one of the best businesses. You know, I think he bought it for $2 million. It ended up in 20 million debt, and then I can't remember. He sold it for billions. Yeah. So, question is, can you do that with boxing? I'm not sure, and I'm not sure that's what they're planning. I have no idea. There's so many mixed sort of releases. What I understood, they're doing a league in America for developing future superstars. That's what I got out of it, and which could be rolled out in other countries. And if that's the case, it's a brilliant idea. And I think I agree. Like, as a fan, it's like, well, you know, there's a lot of these fights need to be made, and Turkey's gone ahead and done that. Yeah? And he's done that very well. I mean, I was watching the show the other night, the Bivol one. I watched every fight, as I do, and I was like, effing hell! Like, every single one of these is a main event. You know, Callum Smith, Boatsi. How was that early on in the evening? That's insanity, right? For me, that was a fight of the night as well. And it's great, but boxing is also huge. Yeah, so it's a lot of fighters out there. It's not, MMA was an emerging sport. I believe it was. You know, Gracie's created it back in the day. I don't even know the whole history, but, you know, the jiu-jitsu, and then they started fighting, and you know, so it's quite a new sport. So there weren't as many fighters. Yeah. Now you see it growing, and then there's different platforms. Obviously, you had Bellator, which I believe has now gone with PFL, and then you've got all these like little offshoots, BKB, which is obviously nothing to do with it, but it's a different fighting platform. You've even got the slaps, you've got arm wrestling, you know, you got all these things. And my question is it it's hard to just have a league for everyone, yeah, because the sport is too big.
You've obviously, along with Calla, been an innovator in boxing with the World Boxing Super Series. Do you think that it's sort of time for new formats and new ways of looking at boxing?
Well, look, my brother did the Super 6 and he did the Super Series. So, you know, we love a format in our family, and I think fans love a format. They want to see who the best of the best is. And, you know, there's always new formats coming on the scene, but the difference here is that they've actually got the financial clout to do it, and also, you know, through Dana, the know-how. And, you know, what I think is important, a lot of people not really into it, is the production that UFC bring to it. It's like you go and watch an undercard fight in UFC, and it'll be two guys, and it's not great, yeah. However, there'll be a film before where you're like, oh, I love that guy, and then suddenly you got a connection to him. You want that guy to win. You know, like the old 24/7 series, yeah. You get a connection to a guy that, you know, normally, oh right, he's got a dog. I got the same dog as him, or, you know, something like that. So you feel a human connection with someone, and then you watch them fight, and if you watch it on TV, the commentator gets so excited. It could be the worst fight ever, but you get excited about it. So it's like, you know, if you can do that at boxing, you know, listen, not every fight is a Beterbiev Bivol, right? So it's you know, it's important to put a bit of show and entertainment around it, which Dana White will bring.
Final one on that subject. How do you think the deal with between Dana and Turki Alalshikh will affect the promoters in this country, yourselves, obviously Eddie Frank and Ben Shalom?
I have no idea. You know, me and my brother, we've always worked with everyone. You know, we obviously did the first ever show in Saudi with Groves and Callum Smith. We've had a few fighters on. You know, we work it. You know, you're always going to need local UK promoters, yeah? Or German promoters, or Scandinavian promoters, Bulgarian promoters, African promoters. Yeah, the world is a big place. A lot of fighters. And, you know, from our track record, you can see we've promoted all over the planet, apart from Antarctica, which...
Any plans?
Well, it's one continent, right? I swear, if we could get enough sponsorship to make it like a carbon neutral show, or, you know, like a net zero sort of pollution or whatever it is, you know, maybe we get some sponsors. We can do it in like a... Anyway.
Well, Turkey's come up with plans to have things in Times Square and Alcatraz. It's not out of the question.
Exactly. There's people talking about Alcatraz. I like Antarctica. I think we've done every... we've had a show in every continent in the world. I'm just trying to think if I'm lying, but no. Between me, the old man, and my brother. You know, Zambia, South Africa, Japan. That's... Qatar, that's not really, that's in Asia, right, as a continent. It's not Middle East, but it's Asia. Europe, North America. South America we haven't. No, we had Hergovich on in Mexico, which obviously isn't South America, but it's kind of heading that way.
We'll let you off with that one. Yeah. As we're in Brighton, we'll...
Kazakhstan soon, for the KO King, Kazakh King, super featherweight. Number 3 in the WBA, number 4 in the IBF, I believe. You know, he's coming for all those big names.
As we're in Brighton, we'll leave this with the Brighton original, Mr. Chris Eubank Sr. He's obviously had an effect on Harlem Eubank's career. He worked with him last year, I believe, and the year before. Do you think we'll see him in the build-up to Eubank Jr against Benn? And do you think he could have an impact on the fight and the build-up as well?
I don't know. He's coming tomorrow night. You can ask him. You can ask Junior as well. He'll be there. So you can ask both of them. But, you know, as far as I mean, he gives the razzmatazz. He's a showman. As far as boxing goes, I don't know. I'm not a trainer. He's training with Jonathan Banks now, who's a good trainer. You know, so... I don't know, it could be detrimental. I think sometimes having your dad in the corner... I remember a few years ago, Maurizio Suleiman wanted to ban having fathers in the corner of fighters. Yeah, and that's because they're too passionate and maybe they get clouded vision, like if your kid's getting hurt or they throw in the towel too early or too late. Obviously you can't stop that, but it was an interesting idea. I don't know what he'll do for his boxing, I'm not sure. I don't think he's been any different. Maybe the first Liam Smith fight, I thought he wasn't great. You know, he tried to box too much. He's a fighter, yeah? Uppercuts, left hooks, combination punching, vicious, aggressive. That's what he needs to be. And I think Conor Benn will do the same thing. So I can't see it going past 6 rounds either way.
Brilliant, Nisse. I really appreciate the time and hope all goes well tomorrow night, and I'll see you there.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you.